Welcome back to the Kang Gang Pod. Today we have an extremely special guest. We got the Sacramento Shams. We got the local guy in the building. If you don't know who this man is, educate yourself. This guy is everything to Sacramento.
Wow.
If you've ever opened a social media profile, you've probably seen this guy pop up. He knows everything about the Kings. He knows every single trivia. He knows when the trade is going to happen. He knows who we're getting.
He's Monty McNair's best friend.
That is my guy. I know that he's not everybody's favorite person right now. But that's my guy.
He smiles different in pictures together.
That's
like
true.
Monty smiles really big.
He's locked in.
Hey, yeah.
He's best friends with Monty McNair. He's best friends with Keon Ellis. You might see him in section 206, row X, locked in 2 hours before games. This is the local guy, everyone. Give it up for the local guy.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Honor and a privilege to be here with you guys. Seriously. Cristo, I know we've known each other for the last couple of years. RT, same deal. Johnny, I've known. So here's the thing with Johnny, man. I've known Johnny since he was like a shithead, like 14, 15-year-old kid. Like,
whoa.
We used to be in the same basketball program. So
Yep.
I used to coach high school ball. I would have been his coach for like 3 of the 4 years he was in high school, and then he left me. He transferred to our arch nemesis, actually. So
Yeah.
I held that against Johnny for the better part of a decade, but I can't stay mad at that face. So
Yeah.
I know, it's hard.
Rightfully so.
ran into you guys at a Kings game, and I was like, oh god. Yeah,
You're like, it's time to.
I was like, I love that kid, man. So
Thanks, Drew. All roads traveled,
Yeah.
I got to go
Exactly.
to school with Cristo and RT, and maybe this
Yep.
podcast wouldn't have happened if I didn't transfer.
that's true, man.
That's
So
true.
It's actually insane, man.
Probably would be in the NBA with the local guy.
I probably, yeah.
Butterfly flag.
Yeah, no, it's
Could-
crazy. The butterfly effect is a real thing. I mean, you got to think about probably what we're going to talk about today, like all the things that led up to what ended up happening. But I think about this sometimes. I'm like, yeah, what if I went to school here or like was friends with these people instead of these people? And all roads led to this. So
Yeah.
And now
Yep.
we're all here together.
We're all here together.
This
in
is a very special
beautiful
moment.
in this beautiful studio though. Like honestly, I am legitimately like taken aback by this studio. Like this is if you think you have an elite King's man cave studio like memorabilia room, I regret to inform you that it does not hold a candle to the one that we are sitting in right now. This is unbelievable. Like this is every Kings fan's dream to have something like this. So shout out to Cristo, who you got to talk about this today just so that I know, like, the origin story behind you collecting all the memorabilia and all the apparel and stuff. But because honestly, that makes me think that you're like a sociopath, being able to like find all of this memorabilia and all this gear. Like some of the stuff that you have, I like this sweater that I'm wearing actually I got this from Cristo, and
I literally got it from that closet right there.
And I was like, you just have these things like lying around? Like it blows my mind. Like all the cool stuff that you have, the stuff that you guys can't see is just as incredible as the stuff that you can. This is an amazing setup. So.
Yeah. The
I
crazy part
appreciate
is
that. I
he
appreciate that.
has Quincy Doobie locked up in his basement. So that's what you guys don't know about.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, this room it's very historical too. It's not just recent King stuff. It's stuff from all over the years, and we're so grateful that you have an eye for the good finds at the antique shop.
No,
I found it all. Yeah.
Peeking behind your chair right here, I see Mikey Moore. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, like Mikey Moore, man. What a name.
I mean, I was lucky to find all of this stuff, but I mean, Maya was the one that made it look the way it does. So it wouldn't look like this if it weren't for her.
So
But
shout
this
out to the team.
Yeah, it's a whole team effort. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to begin with how it all started. But my dad, he was a season ticket holder back in the day, so it kind of all started from there. And then he was into the vintage collecting. And then once I got into it, when I was in at the end of high school towards when I got into college, then I was like, I need to find like my niche, And then I wasn't finding any King stuff obviously when I was in school in Orange County. But the second I came back, I went all in on just Sacramento King stuff.
That's so dope.
So it took about we're probably 6-7 years in. So this is about 6-7 years worth of like heavily collecting, and a lot of stuff is from like my childhood room and all that stuff as well. But now we got it.
We got it here.
Studio.
Nah,
for the Kang Gang Pod.
It's wild, man. Like I walked in, there's this, you can't see it, but there's this poster up here I had that same poster growing up in my room. He gave away a couple of framed posters at the
King's Miss event.
Yeah, the King's Miss event that our good friend Lalo ran. And looking at it, I was like, oh my, like I staggered for a second, and I was just like, whoa, like I had 2 of those growing up. Like it's crazy. Like some of the stuff that I look at, it's a blast from the past, man. Like that team poster with all the signatures, seeing that, like it's so wild, man. So I guess this is a question for you, well, for all you guys, honestly. Like, did you guys expect like his Christos Closet page on IG to take off the way that it has? Like that thing it's crazy, bro. Like I he followed me one day. I was like, oh, okay. I recognize that ad from Twitter. I go to the page and I'm like, yo, this is crazy, right? And I saw some friends of mine followed it, so I reached out to one of my buddies who knew you from high school, and I was just like, that's this guy? He was just like, oh yeah, bro. Like I've bought tons of stuff from him before. It was my buddy Chase.
Oh,
Chase.
Chase is my guy.
Hey, shouts out Chase Everett.
Chase Everett.
Yeah, shouts out to Chase E.
He's got the best jump shot. He's got the best jump
that guy,
shot.
honestly, bro, I don't think I've ever seen him miss a jump shot. That guy can shoot the ball.
He's so good.
He's like Nemanja Bjelica.
But Chase was like, yeah. I went to high school with him and was telling me about like, oh yeah, he started that collection up and started that page up a while ago, and it's crazy, bro. Like the numbers on it and the way that you've been able to tie it in with this podcast. Like, did you think that it was going to be what it is today?
I mean, it was the dream, but I never really thought it would get there. I mean, but I'm so glad it did, because then it opened the doors to this. We always joke around that this podcast is sponsored by Christos Closet, because it wouldn't be here if it weren't for that. But yeah, just the fact that it's led to getting close to players and people visiting the city, like it's more than I could have ever wanted. And that's all I want it to be, is just a platform for people to, it's like a online gallery of King's history in the version of clothing. And then when it's time to sell it, people could get their hands on it. So I wanted to only go to, Kings fans. So that's the hope and goal. And then obviously Kings players.
Yeah.
So you got to help me with Keon. You got to help me with Keon.
Hey,
I got to get some stuff for Keon.
That must have been surreal for you guys, though, because you guys did an event at Urban Roots before, not this past season, but the previous season.
The season before,
That must have been surreal seeing Mike Bibby going through the collection that you had that day, huh?
Dude, that was nuts.
When they reached out to me, so I got reached out by the All the Smoke producer, and I was like, no way. He's like, can we hop on a call? And I'm like, dude, this is crazy.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, so... Well, what Drew is referring to, All the Smoke with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, they had a live event at Urban Roots, and then they asked me to bring out my whole Kings collection because they saw me do it with Jason Williams, so they wanted me to do it with Mike Bibby, so I just decorated the whole booth with Mike Bibby stuff. RT was there.
Yeah,
we were
that
there.
Was a crazy
Mike
day.
Bibby came on in, and he was just like going through everything. He's like, dude, this is like, he couldn't believe it.
How'd you get something to fit?
I wish I had the 3-foot statue.
Yeah.
He would have lost his mind if he saw that.
Did you find a shirt that fit his biceps?
No.
Dude's
no.
yoked.
No shirts fit.
His mustache is nuts.
Yeah, that dude is like, seeing him up close that day, I was just like, he's more jacked than I thought he was. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
And when we saw him, just like the photos, but seeing it in person, like, you're like, dude.
It's incredible.
When you see him wearing a suit during the post game, pre game, you're like, dude, it's gonna.
There's
rip.
no way.
It's gonna rip. It's gonna rip.
He's gonna get a new one. He basically has to go to like Men's Warehouse like almost every single week just to get it towed, get it sewed, whatever it needs to. Oh my gosh.
Of course.
Custom suits, man.
Custom
tailored
suits.
Yeah.
Man, but there's a lot to talk about, obviously. So the reason why we brought the Kings legend, Sacramento legend himself, is because we wanted to get his insight on this trade deadline. He seems like he has all the answers. It seems like right before something happens, the local guy knows. And I wanted to bring you on today. We all wanted you here today because we just wanted to talk to you about what's going on.
Yeah.
And especially, let's just get right into it.
Yeah. Well, did you want to start at the beginning of all this?
Yes, but actually before that, we are recording this right after the Kings versus Timberwolves game.
Oh, yeah, true.
They won 116-114. We are now 25-24.
Let's go.
1-0 in the post De'Aaron Fox era.
In the new era. This is
new
important.
era.
But now, let's take a step back. Take it away.
Good win. So
Yeah, great win.
So leave it at that.
We'll talk about the game in the middle of the podcast.
They played like 6.5 guys and they got a win. So good for them. So just like the beginning of it, like just
let's break it down from the De'Aaron leak, essentially, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. God. Yeah. Last week was just so exhausting because going into the weekend before that, so the weekend before the De'Aaron Fox news dropped, they were in New York City. So they played the Knicks on Saturday and then the Nets on Monday. Leading up to that weekend, it was all I was hearing from people was Collins. There's this Collins deal. Like all the pieces are basically in place. It's there. And I don't blame the front office for doing this. I don't blame them for saying, okay, we have this, right? Let's see if we can circle back and see what's going on with Cam Johnson, right? Because Cam Johnson is going to be where they're going to be at, right? And they're going to be playing his team. So they did their due diligence there. However, that time passes by and the offer is sitting there. And if you know anything about Utah Jazz GM Danny Ainge, you know that guy doesn't like sitting around and waiting around for anything. So apparently that fell through. The Cam Johnson thing, it was like they talked to Sean Marks and he was not moving off of his asking price. From what I understand, it was, salary. So Herter and Lyles probably, and then picks.
Most likely 2, right?
Yeah, but it was kind of like the conversation apparently was 2 picks, or you give us Devin Carter and then you can save one of those picks. That's tough for a front office that just got really good value for him at pick 13 last summer. So, and he's shown flashes, right? Like he's gonna need time, but there's a good basketball player in there, and you don't want to just give that up, especially after you've had him in your building for the past better part of 6-7 months, right? So I totally get where the Kings were coming from. I get where Sean Marks was coming from. Why should he give up one of the most coveted pieces this trade deadline if he's not going to get a price that he likes, right? So that doesn't happen, right? The problem is, and it's been reported out there like all last week, that the Kings front office does this. They do this thing where like they haven't closed the deal yet, but then they'll tell their players and they'll tell certain people on the team like, "Yo, man, yeah, the deal's done. Get excited. Like this guy's on the way." They've done that multiple times. They've done that. They did that at the trade deadline, the Beam Team season when they broke the playoff drought. I don't think anybody's gonna get in trouble if I say this. It was Vando.
Oh.
So he was on his way. Like the deal was agreed upon and everything for whatever, and it wouldn't have cost the team much at all.
Who?
Vanderbilt.
Jared Vanderbilt.
Okay.
Wow.
It would not have cost the team much at all.
That would have been huge.
And the Kings just didn't pull the trigger. Danny Ainge was just like, all right, man, like if you're gonna, because that's the whole thing with Collins was this had happened to them before with the Jazz with the same GM, and they're just playing with fire the same way again, right? With waiting on saying yes to a Collins deal.
Do you know what the asking price was for Collins, or similar to Cam Johnson?
No, it would be less just because Collins can opt out after this season.
Yeah, okay.
So, and also, apparently Ainge just wants him out of there. They're tanking.
Wow.
They're tanking.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
I saw something where it was a first-round pick, a second-round pick, Trey, and
salary,
and it was like ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's what you're referring to, right?
Yeah, and the first round pick would have been heavily protected. Yeah. He doesn't even really care if that pick. He's like, dude, just get this guy out here. We need to lose games. It's a good draft, right? So
I think they won tonight too.
Yeah, and unfortunately they won tonight.
No, but they lost to the Pacers, I think.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they lost.
I walked in and I saw that they were down by.
They're down by 12.
That the Pacers were down by 12.
That's Pacers won. Pacers won.
No way.
So I mean, like,
imagine
adding Vanderbilt to that team for that playoff for that postseason.
That's solid.
That would have been huge.
We needed that.
That ended up not happening, and I was told that like certain players on the team were already reaching out to him to like hey, like where should I live, where should I stay, blah blah blah. They were talking. Yeah, they were having conversations like that, and that ended up not happening.
And then he went to the Lakers.
And then and then of course he goes to the Lakers, right? Like that, and so I found that out way after the fact. That was 2 deadlines ago, so but
so that you're just explaining the history of
So that's just one example of that. There were multiple trades that were on the table for number 13 during the 2024 draft as well.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know? Or are you able to disclose?
I can allude. I guess I can kind of like allude to one. There was
Sacramento Shams.
There was no. There was a how do I phrase this? He's a defensive-minded guard from an Eastern Conference team that ended up getting traded this past offseason. They had told players, and obviously I'll tell you guys after this, but they had told the team that guy was on the way, Everybody was super excited about it. Another team came with a different offer because the Kings waited too long. They took that offer. So,
oh my god!
So and I mean, like, hey, I love Devin Carter, but the player that they had that was on their way it was just like, nah, man, like that guy could have helped tremendously this season. I'm of the belief that Mike Brown would still be the coach if that was the case.
So there's two instances of the Kings kind of waiting for a deal to happen and nothing coming to fruition, and another team coming. Do you think that's because of how Wes Wilcox and Monty kind of split responsibilities, and there's too many people to kind of approve stuff off? Or how would you best explain that?
The whole too many cooks in the kitchen thing.
Yeah.
The weird thing is it's just these two guys, but I mean, it just seems like if you've hesitated so many times on deals, it kind of indicates to people outside the situation that they may overthink everything, and they maybe they value their own pieces a little bit too much too, which obviously you don't blame them, right? Like, you have those guys in your building, you see them every day, you watch the games. Okay, yeah, but man. Sometimes you just got to make a deal, and if the value is appropriate, then just do it. If you're not losing that much, then just do it. And like some deals I've heard of, like the cost for some deals that ended up falling through, I was like, bro, that would have been nice, and we wouldn't have given up very much. And what kills me is it was right there, and they were just like, ugh.
So you're telling me if like those trades were to have happened, the outlook for this team would have been much different.
I think
Mike Brown would probably still be here. What about the Fox? How do you think that would have influenced the Fox situation?
So I bring up the deals falling through thing because that's kind of what led to the whole Fox thing. Like if you're De'Aaron Fox, and if they're telling you multiple times, yeah, this is done. Yeah, like so and so is going to be your new teammate, and then they're not because of something that you willingly chose to not do. Man, like if I'm him, I'm probably frustrated, right? Like his agent, like Clutch and Rich Paul, probably frustrated as well. And it's not like Rich Paul was like holding the franchise hostage. Like, I hate that that's the narrative, and I'm not defending Clutch in any way. But when they had that that little meeting, the state of the franchise meeting with him and Fox and all that stuff, right? Like, I from what I understand, the conversation really was just like, okay, like what's going on here? And what do you guys think is going to happen? And do you think you can get, player A, B, and C in? And the conversation apparently was, I don't know if it went well, but it wasn't like this disastrous meeting that, because I think that would have leaked if that was the case. Like, for sure. if it was a bad meeting, man, like, how the Clutch machine works, dude. They control a lot of narratives on a lot of different platforms. They could have immediately at that point been like, well, we should just do this now, because we want to put it out there way ahead of trade season, right? But it didn't leak. So you got to imagine that it was hopefully productive. The problem is you have that conversation, and weeks later there are deals on the table, and you don't take the deals, or you can't get a deal done. Yeah, you're the guy that you just had that conversation with is going to feel a certain way, right? So again, I'm not saying Fox forced to trade. I still don't know what to believe as far as like, did the Kings reach out to a team first? Did other teams reach out to the Kings first? I'm not clear on that. But Risset, Fox's wife, she kind of spelled it out for people the night that the rumors, started, or that it was reported that the Kings were open to trading him. She was spelling it out for people on Twitter. I don't know if you guys have seen the tweets or not,
of course.
If you haven't, basically she was just explaining the whole situation, and the key thing she said was, look, if this is, there comes a time where you have to weigh these things heavily for the betterment of the organization. And so I think it's fair. I really understand everybody's perspective here, right? And people bring up the Fox podcast appearances and like him hanging out with Draymond and stuff, and saying all these things. I get that, but I think everybody involved when it came to this Fox thing, everybody was just doing their jobs. Like, Rich Paul was trying to get his client to the best situation. They had a destination in mind. They made that public for a reason, obviously. Fox wants to win. He's experienced success these past 2 seasons, but not the type of success long term that he wants. Like, people want to win titles, man. Like, were they going to help him do that? He wasn't sure. And then if you're the Kings, you have to get value for him while you can, because he was going to walk. There's a high probability he would have walked. 2 summers from now for nothing.
Huge. So I think that's the thing that a lot of people aren't really grasping is he was going to walk, right? And that was whatever caused that, his mindset to shift to that's what was going to happen. So in your opinion, do you think we got, considering the market, considering the trades that were happening, do you think we got, like, how would you rate the return that we got for Fox in this trade?
You had the best player in the deal. He's under team control for a year and a half. It was probably like a C- return for me.
Yeah.
Zach LaVine, great player.
He's amazing.
That's fair.
He's
And I'm sure we'll talk about him, but he's having a monster year. But it's like, dude, they're so committed to the bit of not bringing in wings. It's unbelievable. And you had the best player on as a trade chip. It's just like you have these holes in your roster that you needed to fill, and you couldn't get one of them. Like the Spurs, like there are all these names being thrown out. Like, I was my buddy. We were talking before this about a space that I did on Saturday with a buddy of mine who covers the Spurs, and he like threw out some like packages that like, and he wouldn't have talked to me about them and mentioned specific names unless he had heard certain things that were somewhat accurate about what the package might be. He speculated that at least one of those rotation players would be in the trade, but he was like, I'm not hearing like Castle. I'm not hearing.
It's so crazy how that's what the narrative was.
Yeah, even Keldon Johnson. Like these guys are like they're off the table because they just don't feel like they need to give them up because they did have a treasure trove of draft picks, right? But you had the best player on the table in this trade. You roped in a third team, right? Because you wanted LaVine, and you somehow did not acquire another functional NBA rotation piece from the Spurs. The Spurs literally gave up nothing in order to get Fox.
That's the biggest shock to me is how San Antonio, obviously they had all the leverage in the situation, but they gave up Trey Jones, Zach Collins.
That's it.
And obviously the first and obviously the pick. And Sissoko and the picks.
Yeah.
Our front office must value LaVine like crazy. And don't get me wrong, he's had a great year. He has his most efficient year as a scorer. Torched us in the game that we played against Chicago.
He had a light 36 that day, man. It was crazy.
Right. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But LaVine's an electric player.
I mean, I think we all could agree that we're all fans of Zach LaVine.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
When we were all watching the Bulls game, when he was going off, Johnny said so many times, like, God, I wish we had him.
I've wanted him for 3 years.
2019.
Because ever since he signed that offer. 2019 when he signed it? Yeah. For $72 million.
It just sucks that the situation's happening, and this is how we get him. We have to give up Fox to get him. It sucks. But I mean, Zach LaVine, he's 29. He's under team control for 2 more years, right after this year.
Yeah, so he's got this year, he's got next year, and then he's got a player option for 26-27.
Right. He's going to be reuniting with another Seattle guy in Christie. So we'll see, man. If he comes in motivated and just gets buckets, and we make another move to get another wing defender to kind of solidify our wings, I think winning cures all. But it just sucks that we had to give up on him.
It felt good tonight. I'll tell you.
It
felt great tonight.
I like Monk running the point.
Monk, it's so crazy to think how Monk was going from, getting DNPs in Charlotte to now he's basically running our team now.
He played for the Greensboro Swarm.
Yeah.
This rookie year.
It's so crazy because the ascension of Malik Monk needs to be studied.
Yeah.
But I want to bring up what you said earlier about how the organization comes to Fox saying that these deals are done. These deals are done. Because from the outside looking in as fans, all we're seeing is that Fox wants to win. Fox wants wants the help that we need with the depth and with the defense, rim protection, and wings, basically. So they're telling him, oh, we have the deal ready. It doesn't get done. So obviously that frustrates him. And then it just, with the 2026 contract going up, that's when you have to make the decision. And obviously he meant a lot to this city so much, and I just think it's crazy that a lot of people were they were just saying how Fox was, they were kind of like making him the scapegoat, essentially. And they were painting him in this bad light. And then I think it all goes back to the Mike Brown firing when
I was about to say the same thing.
We didn't hold the press conference, and then it was painted in the media that De'Aaron was taking all the blame for the firing, and I'm like, that's his guy.
And then Mike Brown became like the scapegoat in people's eyes too.
Course.
So it's just a revolving cycle of all right, who's the next scapegoat that basically comes through? Is it the front office? Is it the coach? Is it the players? Is it the star players? And then it just is a never-ending circle. And then you realize, like, well, is it the owner's fault too? Well, who is to really blame for all of these actions that have been taking over the last 10 to 15 years?
I want to ask this next question, open it to the floor. We trade Tyrese Halliburton because we want Fox to be the guy. a couple of years later, Fox is gone. What are your thoughts when you see that narrative out there that we had both these guys and now we don't have any of them? How does that make you feel? And
Sheesh.
Just
how do we
go
know the
from there.
Pacers wanted Halliburton over Fox? And that was,
No, I'm just saying how the Kings had to choose between Halliburton and Fox.
Oh, to like give up. Gotcha.
Yeah, and now we don't have either. We don't have either of them 5 years later. So, what are your thoughts on that?
It's hard because there's a lot of what ifs that you could potentially do if we decided to go with the Halliburton route instead of Fox. I think in turn, we did the right route. But when you have a good team that basically made the playoffs 2 years ago and broke it, and then you take a small step back and you miss the play-in last year, you get DeRozan, great, that's a move to help you, and then that doesn't really necessarily pan out as well. You had too many chefs in the kitchen, you fire Mike Brown, and then it's all led to De'Aaron Fox. I just think that the front office didn't do the justice that they should have done building around Fox and Sabonis, because those were your two franchise cornerstones, and I believe that you should build a competent roster around. You drafted Keegan Murray, you signed Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk. You have to continue building those blocks, and I think what Drew mentioned about getting Vanderbilt as one of those options, that could have helped that team so much more, make a deep run. So overall, I think the front office just kind of needed to just put their big boy, shoes on, whatever they need to do, and just really go all in with those two guys, because those are two guys, Fox and Sabonis, that are in the primes of their career, and you just can't waste their primes, especially if you want to build a winning culture in Sacramento.
Very well said, RT. Yeah, I'll never get mad at the Halliburton trade just because he brought us Sabonis, and he's the face of our franchise now. He's been so good for us during his tenure here. This year, obviously, he got the All-Star snub, but he's been crazy efficient this year. But I'll never get mad at that trade. I think Drew mentioned it earlier. I think the things that led up to Fox being moved were those minor, no pun intended, minor moves that Monty could have made that he didn't end up making that really could have helped our team, because we did have a young core, right? We had a great young core.
Yeah.
Still do have a good youngish core, right? Sabonis is still 28. But the reason Fox left is because we didn't pull the trigger on those little moves that got us some defensive help. And you saw Dallas last year with the moves they made at the trade deadline, getting PJ Washington, Gafford. Those are the little things that take you from a play-in team to a competing team, and one that competes for the finals.
I mean, the
we saw
Lakers,
Dallas do it last year.
the Lakers did it 2 years ago when they made moves to get D'Angelo Russell and Vanderbilt, and they made the Western Conference Finals.
For sure. So I think those are the moves that were lacking.
Exactly.
But the Halliburton trade itself, I'm never going to get mad at that, because Domas is just so valuable to us.
Yeah.
We love him so much. But it just hasn't been linear. Hasn't been a linear upward for the team, for the Kings team.
Great answer.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, progress is in the NBA is very seldom it's linear. I mean, even with teams I'm looking at on the wall right now, man, those Rick Adelman teams, they were the 6th seed the first time they made the playoffs under Adelman, then they went to the 8th seed, and then after 2 years it was like, okay, we need to make Jeff Petrie was a freaking genius. So he made all the right moves. He pulled all the right strings and stuff like that. So I'm not surprised that he was able to get it done, because that guy knew what he was doing. But yeah, progress is not linear, and I was hoping that was going to be that was the narrative that I was running with, or at least the belief that I had in me, going into this past off season was, okay, you've seen 2 years of this roster, and you know what you need. You need to go out there and you need to address those issues. They didn't, and so yeah, to Johnny's point, it was the smaller moves, that really cost them, quote unquote, cost them Fox, right? He's gone. But yeah, man, you take me back to February 2022, and if I had to do it all over again, and if I was the Kings front office, I'm keeping Fox. He was so good in that playoff series. He was everything everybody expected him to be. He was very clearly a playoff riser, and then he hurts his finger halfway through the series and still comes out and was balling, right? He's gonna be so much fun to watch these next few seasons with real pieces around him. And I'm sorry I'm bringing it up
No, we will be tuning in.
But this is
he plays Wednesday, right? Yeah, he's the first guy. Yeah, we're gonna be tuning into League Pass.
Yeah,
we got Zach Levine's debut on Wednesday, and same with
same with De'Aaron.
It's gonna be a back-to-backer.
Yeah. And Tyrese, love Tyrese. But if you watched his, and this is not diminishing anything that the Pacers did last year, they didn't. You don't go to the Eastern Conference Finals on accident, but they faced half the Knicks team died in that semifinal series.
Yeah.
And then that first round series against the Bucks. I mean, they were banged up and kind of a bad matchup. And quite frankly, Tyrese didn't play all that great in the playoffs, right?
No.
I would have loved seeing Fox get the Lakers for a 7-game series had they made it to the semis that year. That would have been so much fun, he would have been turned up, man. It would have been so crazy. But we watched one of the greatest players of all time drop 50 on our home court on Game 7.
Yeah,
Cristo and I ran into Cristo by chance after the game. We were just crying in the foyer.
We were crying together.
Jeez.
I want to ask you the question. Now that De'Aaron is gone, do you think? Obviously, our best player is Sabonis. Do you think Malik is going forward? Malik is the guy to hand the keys to just let him control our team. Yeah, because I love what he's been doing. I think Malik is incredible. This is what I've been hearing a lot, and I agree with what I've been seeing. Where De'Aaron Fox, he's an amazing scorer, but he doesn't make the people around him necessarily a lot better because of the passing the ball and everything.
Sure.
But Malik Monk, on the other hand, everyone who shares the court with elevates everyone's game.
Yeah.
So now that we have Malik Monk running the show at the 1 now, that's going to be exciting.
That pick and roll is deadly. And Sabonis and Monk pick and roll with your shooters being Keegan, Zach LaVine, Sabonis with the way he's shooting the 3-ball, and DeRozan shooting the 3-ball well. That's scary. That's going to be scary.
I mean, we have a lot of offensive power.
For sure.
So now this brings up the next question. Drew.
Oh, man.
We have 3 days left. 2 days? 3 days?
Yeah, 3 days.
I think 2 days after when this video drops.
Thursday at noon.
So what necessary moves do you think the Kings are going to make, and what are you hearing that potentially could happen? Because obviously there's so many holes still. Offensively, we're fine. Zach LaVine, he helps with so many different ways. That 3-point shooting that we've been lacking all year, I think that 44% clip is going to help a lot. But we need more than that if we want to get to where we want. What do you think is in store?
This team cracks me up because how do you not have any wings and then you don't get any wings back for the best player of this century? Well, I don't want to say this century. Chris Webber was here at the beginning of the century. But of the modern era, this is your best player. And you still had him under team control for a year and a half, and you traded him for the pick haul. That's a whole other conversation we could have. It's not that great. And then you just don't get a wing. You just don't get a functional wing that can help you from day one. CD Sissoko, we'll see, but he's a project player. He was a 2nd round pick for a reason. He's still so young. He's 20 years old. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Do you think you're going to transfer your Kevin Huerter quote to CD Sissoko? All he needs is
no. I gotta wait. I gotta wait to see which player the fan base hates next, and then I will latch onto that player and do the same thing, because I did the same thing with HB last season, and people wanted me shot. So this year, I never wavered. I never switched up on Kevin. I leaned into the whole. No, he just needs a chance. He's a good player, guys. And the funniest thing about that is when people just they think I'm dead serious. It's so funny, bro. Some of the comments that I got under my farewell post to him yesterday on Twitter were insane. They were just hey, you gonna go with him? You should go to Chicago too, since you love him so much. It's crazy, bro. But
if you've never seen what this man produces on his X account,
the content is unbelievable.
Just do a quick scroll. You'll be having a great.
I would advise you not to, because of the brain rot that would then take over your mind. But if you're willing to, yeah, sure. I don't want to be held liable for anything that you might see on that page. It's funny though, they don't get any wings, and then they create another hole at point guard. They traded away their 3rd string point guard. And really, Jordan McLaughlin was the only other really true point guard on the team, other than De'Aaron. The only other guy that really could actually be, a natural facilitator. I understand what you're saying about Fox. It's not necessarily that he's selfish. You're just saying that, he's
scoring.
Exactly. By nature, he's a scorer.
First,
yeah, exactly. It's his scoring that opens up his playmaking. It doesn't work the other way like a quote unquote natural point guard would be, right? So, dude, you need a point guard now too. You need to bring another point guard. Trey Jones was in that deal.
Jones would have been great.
Why the hell wasn't he routed as
It's
so crazy.
San Antonio's
They got away with highway robbery, man. They really did.
They are
bro.
masterminds.
Yeah, and if you know
They've
anything,
been masterminds for years.
yeah, and if you know anything about their, the full extent of their treasure trove of picks, they still have 2 unprotected first rounders from Atlanta right now, and they have Atlanta's pick this year, and the Hawks are cratering right now. They're bottoming out, and that pick is probably going to be a pretty good one in a stacked draft. Like,
Yeah.
the Spurs are like, they're set up so well. But what do they need? I
Oh, man.
I mean,
I don't want to say it.
You think a John Collins trade is in the works?
I mean, from what I understand, that's never been completely taken off the table.
Okay, so it's still possibly there. What about Cam Johnson?
Cam Johnson,
Because we heard that,
that
the talking halted.
I can tell you right now that like after the Fox trade was finalized, they're back talking again.
Because now they have
right. So that's the thing is they have so they have more assets, more picks, but I mean they're gonna need more than that, man. You're gonna need like.
And I'm hearing Caleb Martin all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah. The Caleb Martin thing came out.
Wow.
Claxton's being shopped, and maybe Claxton could help.
I mean, yeah, Claxton.
We just need some dogs off our bench, dude, and a point guard.
So there's a lot of guys out there that are being talked about.
Intriguing.
Claxton's intriguing, but his fall off was kind of interesting. He was like.
He's not having a great.
He just looks like he's unmotivated playing for a bad team.
It's
so when he was playing for a good Brooklyn team, he looked energized.
Yeah.
I feel like he just needs to change the scenery.
Yeah,
'cause he's an enforcer, man. That's what we need in the paint.
Right.
He's an enforcer.
Yeah. So I mean,
great.
so think about that, man. Think about all the guys we just discussed. That's 3 different positions.
I know.
Okay, like you need another point guard. You need at least 1 wing. I mean, we're not asking for much. Just bring in somebody else that can alleviate some of Keegan's, time on the court, because
his
like
responsibilities.
dude, like there wasn't. From what I understand, it wasn't a specific event that got him injured for a couple of games. It was just he was just playing too much. It was overuse on his ankle. He just needed some time off. So I mean, like, what does that tell you? He's still, I think, like people, they track miles traveled and all that stuff because of the technology. He's number 1 as an off-ball defender. That's crazy to me. So bring in somebody to help him. And dude, this team needs a backup big, a functional one. We're not even asking for much there. Like. Mo Bamba hit the buyout market. Like he got waived, and I was like, hey, bring in Mo Bamba.
That's a big
that would
body.
be such a
That's
Kang move.
Yeah.
That is the Kang move.
That would be the Kang's move.
And people don't really utilize the buyout market as much as they should, because the buyout market's where you can get some solid pieces.
You think Mo Bamba's coming? Because I know I heard in spaces people are talking about Mo Bamba right when the Mo Bamba news came out. I think I sent it to you guys, or I sent it to. I'm like.
Hey,
I bet you this is a King's move incoming,
Yeah.
That'd be so funny.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Well, no, I would be shocked. This team can't get deals done. They can't sign anybody. They can't trade for anybody. I'm not losing any sleep over it. But oh man, tonight they won. It's great. They beat the Timberwolves, but the roster imbalance sometimes was just like it was. You look at what's out there, and you're just like, it's killing me, man. We had to play Doug McDermott for 10. All due respect.
Hey, we love
All
Doug.
due respect. All due respect to Doug McDermott, but I don't think even.
Hey, that's the next Kevin Hurt right
I
there.
don't even think that might be it. You're right. Now I think about it, but I don't even think
You heard it here first.
I don't even think Doug McDermott thought that he would be in a situation at this point in the season where he's like, damn, I gotta play like 10, 15 minutes out there, like otherwise somebody might die from exhaustion. It's crazy, bro. It's the like. You could tell tonight when they played the Timberwolves that they were a little bit re-energized because that huge cloud that was hanging over the team with everybody kind of knew.
Over with.
I think all the fans, all the players, everybody, they're just over that. But they also know that like they play. Doug played 7 or 8 guys. That's not sustainable the rest of the season. At all. So
I mean, my next question is, you rated the Fox trade a C- on the Kings end. If we make no further moves, how much lower does that value go?
I wouldn't even have time to give you another readjustment to the grade. I'm just gonna walk to Tower Bridge and
triple backflip.
It would be.
Yeah.
It would be.
We would go to Forest Hill Bridge and do like a cannonball
that's
into
a good,
the river.
good bridge, man. That's a nice bridge. Love Forest Hill Bridge.
Yeah. I mean,
are we all agreed upon that Trey Lyles, if we do make a trade, Trey Lyles would be?
I think. He's
the most popular selection to get.
From what I understand, I mean, like Herter's gone now, so it might make it more tricky. But from what I understand, a Collins trade is the one trade out there that they may be able to be creative enough where they might be able to keep him.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's the first time I'm hearing this.
But obviously, that's with Herter gone now.
Yes.
That's what I was told. Like when when the stuff was being discussed between the Kings and Jazz, it was like, okay, this is how you could get creative to keep Trey. And again, Ainge kind of just wants Collins out of there, so I don't think he's really going to pound the table that hard. Herder's gone now, though, so who knows? Maybe that's changed. But
so whoever comes in would be coming off our bench. Definitely.
Yes, and from what I understand, Collins is totally amenable to a bench role. He also is trying to get out of Utah. So like,
dude,
so
that would be awesome.
He wants to go to a place where he can compete. And he was on that Hawks team that got to the Eastern Conference Finals and everything. You can call it a fluke or whatever, but they got there.
They were playing great during that.
And they were playing great, yeah. And he since then he has not, gotten an opportunity to really be around consistent winning basketball. Like those Hawks teams were playing teams, and he goes to Utah where it's just like, they hired Will Hardy for a reason. Very, very young coach, no experience as a head coach prior. They want him to grow with that group, and he's doing a good job out there given the circumstances. But
he wants more.
He wants to win now, which is totally understandable. And even though he would come at a price tag of about $25 million, hey, like, if he's okay with accepting a bench role, that makes your bench better. Like,
yeah, that'd be a great bench.
The bench scoring when Fox was here was already piss poor. Like when Malik was inserted into the starting lineup, your message basically to the rest of the team was like, all right, like our bench scoring, like we're basically gonna rely on Keon to hit threes and for Trey Lyles to come in and help us. And it's just like that's just not gonna get it done night to night, right? Like,
and you hope that Devin Carter is what he is presented and what you drafted him for.
Yeah, and he's got a long way to go with his conditioning and also just understanding
the biggest thing I've noticed. He just looks exhausted.
Yeah, and really just understanding the game. Like point guard, very similar to a quarterback in the NFL. It's a tough position to play for a young guy. So you need bench help now. You need wing help and really just more size in general on the team now. And Collins helps you with that. You would need more to I think, for it to be a satisfactory deadline for all of us, I'm sure. But it wouldn't be a bad move in a vacuum for sure. Like just that move by itself. So,
do you think are you willing to move the picks that we got back in the Fox trade, or do you want to hold on to those?
If they're the difference between getting a deal done for Cam Johnson or John Collins, I mean, obviously those are two different price tags. Collins would be cheaper. Then yeah.
Throw him in there.
Throw him in there.
That's on the boat I'm on.
Throw it. I like it.
You also got to think about it from this perspective, and this is what terrified me about this front office making the Fox deal, which ended up being exactly what I expected, or maybe even worse. Like they just didn't get as much as they should have. But these guys, their jobs are on the line. Like a 2027 pick and a 2031 pick does nothing. Right, so were you harping on that?
Yeah, that's a couple episodes ago.
Been preaching that.
Monty's I know, and he's been kind of modest with his moves, right? But yeah, these are moves that he's trying to make to save his job for sure. Yeah. And do you think if we have a worse record than last year, that Monty's fired this offseason?
Man, I've heard about Monty like maybe being fired for much less than this.
With Vivek as the owner, you never know.
Exactly.
If your job's safe.
Oh yeah.
Even if you're the popcorn person.
He is Thanos, man.
Yeah.
But he's definitely making moves to save his job for sure, and you have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. So it's crazy, man. Like some of the, like obviously this past week has been chaotic. The Fox thing I heard about Monday, so it dropped Tuesday, but I heard about it Monday night, and I was like, oh brother. Now I don't.
Did you hear the exact pieces involved?
No. No, at that point,
I was like,
a deal wasn't even.
Sacramento Shams at it again.
But I heard about like
it's gonna happen.
They're like, oh my god, like it could, like they're taking calls or whatever. I was just like, I don't even know if I want to believe this. Like I'm kind of in denial / how real is this? Because this team's like still competing right now, right? Then of course Tuesday morning happens. And it's like, shout out to Damian Barling from 1320, man. He's like,
they're on it.
Truly tapped in. Him, Kenny, everybody that James Ham, like they do a great job over there. And like once Damian put that out, I was like, because the first tweet he sent out, for those of you who aren't on the Twitter sphere, the X sphere, he tweeted out, the Sacramento Kings organization is a mess. That was the first tweet he put out, right?
I was nervous when he said that.
The second he put that out, I was like, all right, here he comes. Like that was, and I had like I was in their chat. I was in the chat for the 1320 show with James Hammond, Kyle Madsen. Shout out to those guys.
Yeah, shout out to them.
And somebody like, I said hi, and somebody replies to me, in the chat, and they were just like, "Is a trade happen today, local guy? Where the local source is at?" I was like, "We want to trade today," and I replied to that dude, and I was like, "Yeah, bro, be careful what you wish for." And then that guy, and then he and I follow each other on Twitter, so he messaged me on Twitter, and he was just like, "What did you mean by that?" And I was just like, "Well, I can't say anything right now without possibly getting murdered." So I was like, it'll probably come out. I was like, all I'll say is there are a lot of players we love on this team, and there's a good chance that a lot of them are going to be gone. And he started asking me questions. He's like, "Oh, you like Lyles and Kurt?" I was like, I'm not going to say who. And then literally like 15 minutes later, Damien drops the tweets, and he messages me back, and he's like, "Holy shit!" And I was just like, "Yep." And that's why I couldn't say anything, because man, oh man, if some other guy found out who I didn't know who this guy was, like I've never met him in person. And if he told somebody or whatever before that news dropped, yeah, the black vans are pulling up. Like Clutch is pulling up to my front door, and I'm getting kidnapped.
Rich Paul.
It's a tricky game that they play.
They do.
With information leaking, it's very. I mean,
the people who kill me the most on social media are the ones that like, because the day of the Fox trade, so yesterday of this as of this recording, Matt George and Damien, like they're saying, hey, Damien's saying turn your notifications on. Matt George is just like, oh, talks are heating up, and the replies are always, just tell us, just tell us. It's just like, dude, okay, a few things. One, you don't want the deal to just get blown up, because that's happened before. Like media and like even some fans sometimes have affected like deals like going through, or like the teams getting certain guys, or because things leak and then agents find out or whatever, and then all of a sudden they put a gag order on it.
That's like the Bogdanovich Bucks trade, right? The initial one.
That is a very good example of it.
Yeah,
that's a very good example of it, because that stuff has happened before. Crazy. So that's one, and then two, dude, all local reporters, and I love the ones that we have. They're super tapped in. They do a great job. Like all of them have the sources. They know this stuff before everybody else. As well, they find out around the same time that a Shams would, or a Chris Haynes, or a Mark J. Spears. The thing is there's like this unspoken understanding in journalism where it's just like the national guys get this stuff first, because that's their news to break. It's not their news. Dude, Damien was all over the DeRozan trade.
Yeah, wasn't he the one to break it first?
Damien technically didn't break it, because Shams' tweet went out first. But Damien had alluded to it first before anybody, right? And
because he was like, didn't he say like DeMar's in Sacramento right now?
Yeah, there's that, and then also eventually people posted pictures of him at the car dealership and stuff like that. But if you really paid attention to Damien's tweeting the couple of days leading up to the DeMar trade, you knew that it was on its way, because Damien's stamped, bro. Like that guy he's super tapped in, and
he's goated.
And like
those guys are too good.
During that whole build up to DeMar getting traded to Sacramento, I also was lucky enough to get some stuff floated my way, and it was just like the night. It's so fun. It's so funny, bro. Like nobody ever wanted to put it in text.
Right.
Literally, like nobody ever like. Somebody called me the night before the trade, and they were just like, okay, this is what's gonna happen, and I was just like, okay. I'm like, are you calling me because you're afraid that like the FBI has like our lines tapped or whatever? God. And he was just like, I'm not leaving a paper trail. I was like, you're a smart dude.
I'm not leaving a paper trail.
And all that person told me was all that person told me was there's probably gonna be a move in the morning. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, yeah, like before the actual trade. I was like, okay. And then of course I think it was the Spurs. I think they traded for Devontae Graham and then waived him. And then if you looked at Devontae Graham's salary, it's basically the same as HB's, and you're just like, oh boy. And then I was told that HB was part of the trade, so I was just like, oh, okay. And then of course the deal happens. So like Damien, but the thing is Damien knew all that stuff like days before, because he's tapped in. So if you're watching this and you're on Twitter and like on social media and you follow those people and you get mad at them being cryptic or whatever, and like I mess around a lot. I do that stuff a lot. Here's the thing. When I do it, it's definitely because I'm messing around. When they do it, it's because
they know something.
And I know Damien those guys have a lot of job security, but they can't say it because they will get themselves and many other people in trouble. It might jeopardize the deal itself. So,
and why would they even jeopardize their credibility in the first place?
Yeah,
it's like they're not doing it to rile people up. They're doing it because they know what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just everybody just calm down. Just
I've been
chill.
seeing a lot of that. I'm like, dude, people just need to let it happen.
Journalistic integrity is already cooked kind of as a whole, just because of just the way that news is reported these days and like social media and stuff. Like these are the last few guys that are like trying to hold on to that. let them do their jobs and like don't yell at them to like reveal trades or whatever. But I think just going back to the original topic, like the trade deadline, like you need multiple pieces to come in here, and it's just like, is the Collins deal gonna happen? Is the Cam Johnson deal gonna get? Like, I don't know. All I know is one of those deals was right there for you. You decided to say no. And Cam Johnson's got suitors, man. There's going to be other guys that are going to be in on him.
If OKC ends up with Cam Johnson,
it's over.
It is over.
Hey, honestly, watch out for San Antonio.
I know. That's what I was thinking.
That's what I'm scared
Watch
too.
out for San Antonio.
They have everyone still.
Yep. Watch out for San Antonio with Cam Johnson. And if
What's happening in San Antonio?
And if they why would they do that?
Why would they do that?
If San Antonio gets Cam Johnson, that is
a perfect.
That's a nightmare scenario for us because Fox would have loved playing with Cam Johnson. I don't doubt for a second that he was probably on the list of players that Fox told them to go out and try and get. And if they end up in San Antonio together,
it's literally a middle finger to the Sacramento Kings.
To this entire city.
Imagine San Antonio does every single move that the Kings have been talking about for the past years, dude.
And then they pull it off
because they have the power to make it happen.
And Victor Wembanyama happens to be there, just sitting there. Yeah, whatever.
Oh, and then they have picks to potentially have a chance at Cooper Flag. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
San Antonio is going to be a very, very, very good team.
Yeah. It's
all right. Let's talk about this game we just watched.
Yeah.
So the first game in the new era, we are 2-4 on the road trip. We won 116, 114.
We did it, guys. We won 2 games.
We won 2 games on the road. But I want to ask you this before we talk about this game. We have a very, very, very winnable schedule in February. Can I break down who we're playing?
Yeah,
it might be.
We're
time
playing
to also
the Magic.
do a pulse check.
We're playing the Magic, Trailblazers, Pelicans, Mavericks, Pelicans back-to-back, Warriors, Hornets, and Jazz. So we play the Pelicans 3 times, Magic, Trailblazers, Mavericks, Warriors, Hornets, Jazz.
Yep.
So those are the 9 remaining games in February. If a move gets done after the Wednesday game against the Magic, we might have the potential to win a lot of those games.
Is it bad
things.
that I'm so traumatized from the Pelicans last season that when I see them on the schedule, even this year, given their injury struggles,
God,
I still get nervous.
I still get nervous too.
Me too. When we played them earlier, they made it a close game. They had 5 wins.
I think they're missing a few guys. I mean, obviously DeJounte now.
Yeah,
that's still nervous, dude. That sucks.
That
does suck.
But yes, I agree with you.
The Pelicans
even though we played them 3 times,
and the track record. My God, yeah, that is just not a recipe for success. They have everything that we are bad at.
Yep.
I know. That's why I'm like.
But up until March 1st, we have a lot of winnable games for sure.
This stretch right here, and a lot of those games are at home. That could be huge for us because we could jump up. We could maybe get to the 6, or maybe even 5 potentially. You never know. But let's talk about this game. So let's talk about Keegan Murray in the first quarter, scoring 17 points, going 6 for 8 from the field. I mean, we've been waiting for an aggressive Keegan Murray. When was the last time you seen him rebound the ball and just he's the one taking it up? I think you put on Twitter, you're like, what can you repeat what you said about what he's feeling because of the Fox trade?
Yeah, they traded his best friend, his niece, and his nephew, man. Like
so he came out to prove it was
personal.
That man was hurt. He was, and look, man, I that's happened to me before, man. I've played basketball with a broken heart before, so
you probably dropped 30.
I dropped like 8. But like it'll drive you to like great, like you can heartbreak, hate, all that stuff, it can fuel you, man. And,
sure.
and
whatever it takes.
That first quarter, that dude was looking at the basket every single time. I was like, dude, this is it. He hit
We've been waiting for
He hit
this.
that turnaround fadeaway on the baseline.
Like DeRozan.
Oh, come on, bro.
Like, he's different tonight.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then in typical Keegan fashion, he just scores 2 points.
Yeah, he scores 2 the rest of the game. But that
he runs back so fast on defense too after he scores. He's like gliding.
It's like straight face. It's like his mental brain. It's like a robotic brain where it's like, oh, time for me to go play defense. And then he sprints like twice as hard.
Bro.
He's so insane. He's the definition of locked in.
Dude.
He's so
on
locked
the basketball court, he's so locked in. But after the game, that man was smiling for like 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who he was talking to. I don't know if it was Luka Garza or one of his.
Oh, it had to have been Luka Garza. Yeah,
But
they're Iowa guys.
He was happy.
Yeah,
He was happy after the game. But I mean, that's great to see. It was basically the Keegan Murray versus Nas Reed showdown.
Yeah.
Nas had 16 points.
Yeah.
He couldn't
King's
miss.
killer.
Crazy.
He's been a
Absolute
King's
King's
killer.
killer.
King's killer, bro.
Yep.
But and then DeMar DeRozan, he went 4 for 4, 9 points in the first quarter. So I mean, we win a win of first quarter for the first time in a long time, 38-34. What stood out the most in the beginning of the game?
I think Keegan, man. Keegan, Monk's aggressiveness. I mean, trading your best players, that's going to be the biggest wake-up call you can give to a team. And Wednesday against Orlando, when Levine comes in, we're going to see, pending a couple moves, hopefully, we're going to see how this new roster gels, and that's going to be a telltale sign on how well we play the rest of February. But everyone should be gassed up. Everyone should be energized. Like we were saying earlier, weight lifted off your shoulders now that the Fox talk is done.
Yeah,
and
Black Cloud is removed. Finally.
Yeah. I'm glad the supporting cast is playing good. And if Levine can fit in well on February or on Wednesday against Orlando, I like our chances of winning some games in
I know,
February.
because Magic I think they've lost 8 out of the last 9.
Yeah, they've been slumping a little bit.
They've been playing.
Dude, it sucks, man, because I love that team. I love Paulo. I love Franz. But the thing is they have no shooting and no offense out of those two guys. And when one of those guys is hurt, it's kind of a disaster.
I mean, they lost today. They only dropped 99 points against the Warriors, which is insane.
Crazy the fall off they're in right now.
Seems like every time they start doing good, they get an injury. It just sucks.
I mean, they've had probably the most unlucky season outside of the Pelicans. But second quarter of this game, Domantas Sabonis gets his first rebound, which is you never see.
It's insane.
That killed so many parlays, man.
Oh yeah,
I was thinking about it, and like he's close to a double by
all the first half rebounds. And if you took it over on the first half rebounds, cooked.
You're cooked.
Carter took one away from him in the first quarter. That shit was hella funny. I was like,
I saw Trey doing that too.
I know Sabonis is pissed right now. It should be his rebound.
Yeah, so that happened, but then shortly after he gets a putback, rebound and score, his 10,000th career point. Give it up for Domantas Sabonis. We just saw De'Aaron hit 10K, and now Sabonis hit 10K in the Kings uniform.
Yeah, it's incredible
stuff.
He earns his points too, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and this was not Sabonis' best game. I mean, this is probably one of his worst games.
We have Gobert trying to abuse you with elbows in there, dude.
Well, I mean, it's not like that's not different than any other night. But like tonight, it was just egregious, and he was getting no calls like usual. So
he wasn't shooting. Like I think he went 0 for 3 from the 3-point line.
Yeah, he had a couple where like.
They were just way off, and I'm like, that's not like our Domi.
And it kills me when he's got an open shot, he just doesn't take it. He needs to just pull the trigger.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something else I noticed in the second quarter and just the first half in general was we were doing full court pressure. Yeah. That was huge. And then that leads me into Malik Monk. He was getting like full on like De'Aaron Fox type defense on him. And how do you guys think Malik did getting in that, even though he's been in that role for the past 20-ish games, but this felt a little bit different the way they were guarding him. How do you think he responded, and how do you think he did overall?
Yeah, I think he acquitted himself pretty well. I mean, I think the interesting thing now is like there's no Fox, so there's no trading off or anything like that. It's just him in that starting lineup. And obviously Keon started tonight, right? So it's not like you're slotting in a guy for Fox that's just also going to put up 15, 20 shots. The Wolves knew that, right? So they're like, okay, yeah, we're going to pay extra attention to this guy. He did quite well considering the fact, which obviously
very, very
makes
impressed.
us very excited about Levine coming into the fold, right?
Because now Levine's going to take that pressure off of Malik, and then Malik's going to be able to do what he was doing when Fox was there.
Yeah,
right.
So I think it's, I mean,
we saw Malik play like this the games that Fox missed, right? On that East Coast road trip against Boston. He looks comfortable out there. I think that's what gave kind of our front office the move to trade away Fox for sure.
I think his decision making from when he started to now
much better.
It's been 9-day difference.
He's maturing.
He's maturing, because there are a lot of things that I noticed last year was when he would be aggressive, there would be times where he'd be way too wild. But now this year, he's felt like he's been more comfortable letting the offense flow to him. I feel like the game has slowed down for him now that he's become more of this facilitator and being a guy that understands like, hey, you have Sabonis that needs the ball, you have DeRozan that needs the ball, you have to find another way to get those guys going while still being able to get yourself going too. So in a way, I really like that Malik Monk has basically changed. He still is the aggressive scorer that we all know and love, but he's added that element to his game where he can be able to kill and just dominate and be playmaker at a high level.
Yeah, I think we got to credit Doug Christie for that too. Just letting him play free. He just looked like he was so much more timid earlier in the season when Mike Brown was coaching.
Yeah.
We all know, Mike Brown is a very kind of stern coach, traditional coach, and Doug's whole play style and coaching style has been letting the guys play, letting them play. They're going to make mistakes, but play through them. And he just looks like he's empowering that and taking it by storm.
Yeah. He's very rigid with his system and how you play and stuff like that. And you can tell, bro, these guys are playing so much more loose.
For sure.
It's helping out on offense for sure.
I think I saw one possession where Malik dribbled like 25 times in one, and I was like, dude, these guys are like playing incredible defense on Malik, but the way how he's able to Mike would have hated that.
Yeah.
Mike would have hated that.
He would have cut Monk's minutes for sure.
Yeah, but Malik, I think the keys are his now.
He's a special scorer, dude.
Like Sabonis is our top guy, but like Malik, what he could do on the offensive end, and even talk about that block against Rudy Gobert.
I know. Going up in the trees.
Going up to the mountains.
Freaking ridiculous athlete.
Dude,
he's insane athlete.
He's 26 too. We need to keep this in mind.
Yeah,
he's getting better.
He's getting better. He's getting better.
I love what we're seeing out of Malik, and he's just, from when we first got him to where he's at now, it's just been...
And also, man, say whatever you want about this front office, but you have 2 top 5 contracts in the NBA right now. You have Malik Monk is a ridiculous contract.
Ridiculous.
Taking the hometown discount. And Key, I mean, maybe I'm a little biased saying this, but I mean, dude, Keon, like, for what he's making and for the production that he's giving this team, it's unbelievable. So
he played great tonight. Keon played great. Yeah. Trey Lyles, finally, we've been waiting for that.
Keon got the D-Pog crown tonight too.
Good.
Yeah. My guy.
I think Trey Lyles ended up with... he had 2 steals and 2 blocks as well.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Trey.
He's just out there battling too.
I know.
Like, just boxing guys out. And
he's playing like maybe he's like, I want to be here, or he feels the pressure, I think.
Yeah, right.
Grabbed 8 huge rebounds too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so undersized compared to the guys on
Minnesota
team.
Is so physical.
Yeah.
They're such a physical team.
They were giving Sabonis a lot of trouble.
Yep.
Sabonis got his 4th foul at the 9:32 minute mark in the 3rd quarter.
And that's the team that basically has given Sabonis trouble and gotten them into foul trouble. 2 years ago, I think we played the Timberwolves in a really close game, and Sabonis fouled out in that game where... that size and that physicality, even when they had Cat, they were just abusing Domas and just trying to get him in foul trouble and take his size and his undersized as a center to their advantage. And you saw glimpses of it tonight too, but I think what the Kings really do well with, and especially when we play more physical teams, is try to outmatch that physicality.
Yeah.
We saw that when we played the Rockets twice. We beat them at their own game by being the more physical team, and I think that was the key to tonight. Was we were more physical. We got to more rebounds. Keegan was super aggressive grabbing rebounds. Trey Lyles was aggressive grabbing rebounds. Keon Ellis was being a pest on defense. Just the list goes on and on. Just being the more hustled team, getting those one and done opportunities, defensive rebounds. I think we had a lot of defensive rebounds tonight.
We rebounded them tonight.
Yeah, we out rebounded them. We had
47. Monk had
47.
That's crazy.
They had 36. They had 36 tonight.
And out of those rebounds, we had 36 defensive rebounds to their 25.
Incredible. So
Which
that's what I mean, for an undersized team as we are. That was great to see.
Yeah.
I don't think we would have won that game if it weren't for DeMar DeRozan's 33 points and then Malik adding 26 as well. Those guys carried us at the end of the game. That was a stressful finish to that game. I mean,
it was.
Minnesota found a way to climb back in, of course.
Man,
the boys stayed composed, which is huge on the road. And like RT said, we got to be the aggressors every single night, especially when Sabonis is getting beat up in the paint, which he does every single night. We got to bring the aggression. And we easily could have quivered and let Minnesota push us around in their home court, and we didn't. So hopefully we add some more offensive firepower in Zach LaVine. I think that's his new nickname, right? I heard Zach LaVine and Zach LaVine. Kind of like Zach LaVine.
I've also heard Zach LaKing. I've been hearing a lot of stuff.
Hey man, he's a West Coast guy. From Seattle. Went to UCLA, obviously. I think he's gonna have.
I think he's excited.
I think he's excited.
About
wasn't it? First, I mean, obviously they've talked about trading for this guy a few times, and obviously the Kings gave him an offer sheet 6-7 years ago. But wasn't a lot of the conversation regarding him wanting to come here or open to coming here is because doesn't he have like family or something like that here, or he has?
Oh, I don't know actually.
I think in LA.
Yeah,
I think that's why he went to UCLA.
Right. Yeah. Somebody might have mentioned something about him having family. Everybody's got family in Sac. DeMar had family in Sac apparently. So.
Yeah.
And so did Mike Brown. Mike Brown had family.
Yeah, I know. J-Mac has family in Sacramento. You know, he just got traded, which was a bummer. But yeah, I met some of his family members, and I'm just like, damn, like he's just gone now. It sucks. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I saw him at the Arco gas station on J Street like a week ago. And that was pretty. I swear to God, he was a nice guy too. I was like, "What's up, J Mac?" He gave me a thumbs up.
I love that.
And a
That's
white
incredible.
Range Rover.
Him and his wife, and they just welcomed a baby boy. The nicest people ever. That's
incredible.
That's the saddest thing about losing J-Mac is like after a lot of games, we would chop it up with J-Mac, and he's always.
I would have been
So easy
shocked
to
to
talk
hear
to.
if J-Mac was not.
Yeah,
a
was
nice
like,
guy.
not a cool dude.
I would have been shocked. But back on the Zach LaVine thing. So at the end of the game, DeMar DeRozan got the post game presser with Deuce and Mo, and they asked DeRozan how he felt with LaVine coming back or rejoining forces with Zach LaVine, and what he said. Because people were saying, you know, oh, they can't win together. You know, the Kings.
Fox is gone, DeMar's gone, type of thing.
And they're like saying like we're the Western Conference Bulls, all that. Like DeMar DeRozan, LaVine.
Like Vucevic is the same as Sabonis.
I know.
That's crazy, bro.
That's
crazy.
That's the narrative
crazy.
right now.
Just a
But-
European white guy.
But basically, they were trying to say
not
that
the
like
same.
DeRozan doesn't want to play with LaVine.
Right,
You know, like
right.
they tried it didn't work
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But right when the trade happened, instead of posting about Fox leaving, he posts the
Yeah.
photo
LaVine?
of them
Yeah.
in the All-Star locker room.
Yeah.
So this is what he had to say. He said, Zach LaVine is one of the most talented players I've ever played with. It sucks that my last 2 seasons in Chicago, Zach LaVine was injured, but that 1 year that we did have together,
That's
we
true.
were both
Yeah.
That's true.
stars.
I mean,
So-
they were the 1 seed for
Yeah.
February.
Yeah. It
And
literally gave
before
me
they
chills
got
hearing
they
that.
got injured, they had
Just
a
got
massive injury bug,
Yeah.
massive. So when you think about it, that's a sign of saying like, "Whoa, this really has a good chance." And LaVine has been the healthiest he's been in quite some
Finally.
time.
You got to think LaVine's coming in motivated,
Yeah.
right? Everyone's
Yeah.
talking about Fox and the steal, and LaVine is secondary to everybody,
They
right?
haven't said
No one
anything
talks
about
about him.
Yeah.
You got to think he's coming in motivated, ready to show out for
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
on a better team as well. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited for Wednesday, man.
And shout out to Kenny Casey from 1320. I think he posted a clip of Levine, I think on media today, this beginning of this season, talking about really just his mentality has just completely changed. You know, he took basically all of last season off, and I think he reevaluated, refocused. Obviously, got his body right, clearly, and he now has like a different perspective on the game, and I think you're seeing it based on his production, like. I'm sorry, but 44.5% from 3 on 7 attempts per game is
That's
ridiculous.
insane.
bro.
That's ridiculous.
We saw it against us. I mean, we just saw it.
Isn't he shooting
3
like
weeks ago.
55% field goal percentage in January or something? Like his numbers in January are insane.
He's playing out of his mind.
Yeah, RT and
Yeah.
I, we did our All-Star ballots a couple weeks ago, and I put Zach LaVine on my
The honorable
on my
mentions,
reserves.
right.
I thought he was. I mean, with the season he was having, I put him there. I thought
Yeah.
he should be
Yeah.
up there, but I mean, obviously,
yeah,
didn't
that's a
happen,
hard
but-
one.
Yeah.
But man, I think
He just welcomed his third child too.
Yeah.
yeah. So he's
Hey.
going to be coming in
He's
extra
getting
motivated.
third child dad strength.
Yeah.
So,
that's what you need. That's what you
Yeah.
need right before you come to SAC. I mean,
Hell yeah.
I have a feeling on Wednesday it's going to be huge open arms with Zach.
Oh,
LaVine.
yeah.
I feel like
Hey,
it's going to be great.
That's
I
the
mean,
thing. That's the thing with our fan base that that's
accept
not
anyone. We
That's
literally
never
accept
going to be
anyone.
questioned. There were I went to the Kings game because they played a back-to-back against the Timberwolves, same city when the Tyrese trade happened. And that first night after the trade happened, it felt like a funeral for sure. Like it was just bad. The second night, that
Oh,
place
yeah.
was maybe half full, but you wouldn't be able to.
Sabonis played, right?
Wouldn't be able to tell during pregame intros because he got a thunderous ovation and then they won the game, right? So I definitely expect the city to welcome him with open arms. Like that's not even gonna be. That's not a question.
No, it's
Yeah.
going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'll be there. I will be there. I mean, I'm very, very excited to see
Yeah,
it.
that's gonna be fun.
Number 8. Last time we saw number 8, who was it? Bogey?
Yeah, it was Bogey,
Yeah,
right?
Dude.
Yeah.
It's going to be good to see that number out there again.
Yeah.
Good
It's gonna
lineage
be
for number
exciting.
8, man.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
Rudy Gay,
yeah,
Bogey.
really.
Are you guys all going to the game?
Mo
Wednesday?
Harkless. I think Mo Harkless is number 8.
Mo
No, hey, shout out to Mo Harkless.
Yeah, Mo Harkless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mo Harkless, dude. Big East legend. Yeah, I should be there. I should
You
be
guys
there
are all
Wednesday
going? You
night.
going, RT?
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet. I mean, I've got
I
classes,
think that's a
but
must.
you know,
I think
we'll
that's
see.
a must.
Well, I'm
must
gonna try.
attend.
I'm gonna try and get there.
Yeah.
Because that's a game I want to see.
You want to see the
Yeah,
Zach LaVine's
one
first
way,
game.
one way, or another.
I'm there.
Okay, next order of business.
Well,
We're all
also-
excited. Okay. Oh,
Also, shout out. Fun little fact. We've won 5 straight in Minnesota. which is really impressive.
So weird.
Wow.
Yeah, which is so weird because we're
That's not
so
easy
bad.
to win
We're
for other
so
teams.
bad at home,
Yeah.
and then when we play Minnesota, and then we're the complete opposite.
It's
very true.
so weird. They should have clinched a playoff spot at home against Minnesota in 2023, and they fumbled it, man.
Yeah.
Didn't they lose that one and then they lost the Spurs one right after?
The
And they won-
the Spurs one,
2023.
The,
Yeah, that was
Spurs, the
2023.
Spurs one was for the division.
Oh, that's
Yeah, it
right.
wasn't for the
That's
playoff
right.
spot, and they could have done that on Kids and Family Day. And they made all the little kids cry. Dude, I tweeted out that I was
Oh, I remember
that I was at the game with my son on Kids and Family Day, and he saw me raging, and he was just like, "Daddy, what's gonna happen?" You know. And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. This team sucks." And then I went on to Deuce and Mo when they had their radio show on 1140, and Deuce brought that tweet up, and I was just like, "Yeah, man, they I can't believe they did that to us." And then Monty McNair replied. He went back like a week and found that tweet, and he replied to me on Twitter, and he was like, because I wondered out loud on the radio show if Monty saw that tweet, and he found the tweet. He went back on my timeline, found the tweet, and he was just like, "Yes, local guy, did see this tweet. Sorry about that, but hope we made up for it in New Orleans." I was like, "Dude, this is what world are we living
See,
in?"
this brings me to my next topic. We need to get
Unbelievable.
into just the local guys' Twitter
Lord,
local
Background,
success.
history.
Local
We
guys'
just want to know
DMs.
how this happened. Like you, just to give people a background, through what you post on Twitter, you've gotten the attention from Monty McNair, Keon Ellis, and I'm sure the list goes on and on and on. I just want to jump to Keon first. Can we just talk? Can you just tell the Keon story because he's a current player. Talk about how you're able to just hang out with him after games on the court every game,
man.
and how it all happened through your Twitter
So
account.
I'll correct you there real quick. I don't see him in person and hang out with him on the court.
Yes, you do.
as often. No, not as often as I used to, because, and this is all credit to him, and it's obviously showing off as you know, you can see that this is the case because he's locked down a full-time contract and is playing well. He really took the message seriously from whoever it was that told him that, you know, just because you're here doesn't mean you're going to keep your job. So he started doing post-game workouts, like, you know, getting treatment, doing post-game workouts, really taking care of his body. And shit, you can see it. Like, once he started getting minutes when he was still on his two-way contract before they converted him, he started doing that, like, in, like, November, December.
So you're telling me
And-
he said they pretty much said, "Hey, stay here to get your work in. Don't hang out with the local guy after the games."
If that was the exact wording, I don't blame them for saying that. Because why would you be hanging out with me? But no, he
With all the Arby's
Local
deals.
guy was at Carmen Brew
He's-
just waiting for him.
shout out to Carmen Brew. Hey, best,
Shout out to Jose,
best,
bro.
Best,
Love Carmen Brew.
best espresso martini,
Martini.
in the city.
We want to do a live show
I
there.
think
Yeah,
in
man.
California. I think
Yeah, maybe even California.
Hey,
Carmen Brew,
take
sponsor
it.
this podcast.
Dude, we're trying.
Please,
We gotta reach out.
please.
Keon, though, so generous with his time. Like, he didn't have to do all that. Like, I remember he used to be so accessible. Like, this dude don't even hit me back sometimes no more, man. He's locked in. This dude is like, he has a job to keep, so I understand it. But I used to hit him up like, "Hey, yeah, I might be around in 108 after the game." You know, he's like, "Oh yeah, bet." You know, he'll actually respond. Nowadays, it's just it's completely random. It's like I might see him, I might not. I don't know. I don't see him most of the time, so he's got a job to keep. I totally understand. But yeah, the Keon thing, man. I used to do this. I mean, and it was a bit that was on in sports Twitter, really, just for the longest time, was people would make these mixtapes and they would put a song that doesn't fit
Oh, I love
for
those.
the mixtape.
I love those.
So, and I've deleted them all because I didn't want to get struck by copyright, you know. So, but I think I still have some of them on my phone. The first one I made for him was the Murray Miracle game, Summer League, because he banked in a crazy ass 3 in overtime that game, and he had a pretty good game overall. So I made a mixtape of him from that game and I used SZA's song "The Weekend." Okay. And then I just kept on doing that with other random songs that didn't fit. And like sometimes I would post highlights of his that weren't even like spectacular. It could be just like a simple pass to somebody for like a layup and it would be part of the mix. It's like it was just like absurd. It was just dumb. I was literally laughing as I was making them. I'm just like, this is so stupid. Like this is so dumb. But the thing was, I knew that he had family members and people that were active on Twitter and would clue him in on when people would talk about him. And the thing is me and my guy, King's Film Room, shout out to KFR. He's been doing great work. He's part of the lore that I'm sure we're going to talk about. But he and I started watching Keon tape early 2022. And if for anybody who wants to verify that, just like literally go to my page and just keyword.
No, I was about to say you've been on Keon early.
Yeah, keyword search Keon Ellis. I was confused watching his tape. I'm like, this guy's not going to be a first rounder. This guy's not going to be a draft pick even. This is crazy because he was like a second rounder on most boards.
I think that was the first time I heard about Keon was from your post.
That's crazy. I
didn't know who he was before that.
Don't follow.
I get all my sources from you.
Don't follow anything that
Sacramento
I do or
Shams,
say.
I'm telling you.
But yeah, so I think he was aware. He even responded to one of KFR's tweets when he was tweeting about him in like April or something like that. And then I was doing that stupid little bit throughout the summer, and like in the middle of Vegas Summer League, he followed me back on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh, brother, here we go." Like this is so ridiculous. But I didn't do anything over the top or anything. I was just like, "Oh, yeah, that's cool." He follows me. He gets the 2-way, right, and then throughout the season, I would just message him occasionally, like I would see he played well in the G League. Cool, I'd message him like, "Hey man, saw you did this, shout out to you," and he'd be like, "I appreciate that," his birthday, and then like also I think he scored his first points in Houston when we played a back-to-back there, and we just beat the shit out of the Rockets one game, so he got some time at the end of the game, and he got like a layup, and that was his first bucket. So I messaged him when he made his first NBA bucket. Obviously, he got the ball that night because it was his first 2 points, and then when I realized that it was getting pretty crazy was. Like Twitter's Twitter. Instagram's a little bit more personable, I think, on your personal account. He followed me on Instagram, and that's when I was just like, "Oh yeah, I think this guy might want to be my friend." So like
he's my number one supporter.
The California Classic finally comes back to Golden One Center that summer, and he posted about it because he knew he'd be playing, and I responded to it, and I was like, "Hey man, I'm super excited, man. Like let's go." And he's like, "You gonna be there?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." And I was just like, "Yeah, we gotta link up in person finally." And this man said. That might be more important than the game itself. And I was just like, hey, bro, that's crazy because you're still trying to lock down a contract. Like, you got games to play, bro. Like, don't say that. And so that was the first time we met in person was after the first game of the California Classic. He was nice enough to... And he thought that he was just meeting me. I ran into like 4 or 5 other people that I'm really good friends with. And I was just like, hey, do you guys want to stick around? Like, Keon's coming out. And he was so generous with his time. Talked to all of us. One of my friends, she had her nephew there with her. Talked to him. He had like a replica Depog chain on, right? And like he pointed.
I remember that.
He pointed out the Depog chain. He took pictures with everybody, man. Like I like on top of the fact that he's I've been rooting for him as a prospect, and like it's crazy to see. Like last year was like a freaking fever dream when it came to Keon. I was like, I can't believe I was like, that's my friend out there, but this is crazy. I was like extra invested. I was just like, yeah, man. When he wasn't playing last year, I was like crashing out like 100%. Like I was like, bro, what are we doing? But on top of the fact that he's just like a really good basketball player, just A1 human being. I've been able to meet like his friends, his family, met his mom and all stuff. That just great people all around. Like he's the best. Like just great human being and great person, and that's what makes him so. That makes it even easier to root for him.
Dude, that's incredible. Maybe one day you could bring us 3 down there to the court.
Hey, one day,
bro. Hey,
maybe one day.
Hey,
maybe one day.
Hey, you got my phone number, bro. Like, just hit me up.
Maybe one day when we're all at a game together, we'll just be talking to Keon post game. That'd be great. It's so crazy how just social media.
It's the power of social media.
You could just. I had that similar story with Davion. So that's how. Yours is just funnier because it was all through him just seeing what you were doing is funny. But
I'm guessing it's through
the clothing.
Yeah, through the clothing. Yeah.
But it's just crazy when you meet these guys. You're like, these are just normal guys.
They really are, bro.
And they're all so nice, which is the best part.
Keon is. He's so funny, bro, because I promise you, dude, he's all about basketball and then just going home and just playing games.
Dude, he's always Twitch streaming.
Like, it's crazy. Like he's always about the video games. Like people get worried about these athletes, like, oh, they might go out to the club and blah blah blah. He's just like, oh, I'm just gonna go home.
You don't gotta worry about Keon. He's just here to take some nice fit pics and play some games.
Yeah. I think that's such a special thing. Like, and that's one of the main things to like. I don't know, one of the main perks of rooting for a small market team for sure. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you're rooting for the Lakers or like some team in LA or New York. It's like, you're never going to run into a player. Like, they're never going to respond to your DM. But the Sacramento Kings fan base in itself is so special and so welcoming, but the players seem like they fit in.
So I was talking to a guy he's a Warriors fan. So we're talking about the team right down the road, right? And I was in one of his spaces or his streams or whatever. They're talking about Kuminga. And after the preseason game that we played against the Warriors in Sac, so this was before, not this season, but the season prior, I talked to Keon after the game, and Keon was just like, yeah, bro, like Kuminga is like, he was telling me like, oh yeah, like all this stuff about like, oh yeah, he's nice, blah blah blah. And I was in there giving, I was like adding into the conversation about Kuminga, and they were just like, oh, like how'd you find out all this stuff from like a player and all that stuff? And I'm just like, oh, like I've been lucky enough to like be friends with a lot of people who cover the team, but also some players. And the guys that were in that space, like they couldn't process that as a possibility
like,
because
wait, who are you?
Because
are you the best son?
I knew those guys just purely from the internet, good dudes, like good Warriors fans for sure, but like they root for a team that is in a massive market, right? They have the most iconic player of this generation, right?
Sure.
That guy can't go anywhere. Fox talked about that when they went to China. He's like, I can't fathom being him because everybody's mobbing him wherever he goes. Like De'Aaron loved this city for a reason. You can just go out and have breakfast. Nobody really bothers him.
Oh, De'Aaron, love to hear. I mean, on this same topic, like De'Aaron and Rasay went on Deuce and Mo's podcast in like a very similar setting to this. Same environment. And they sat down for 2 hours and talked basketball. So did Keon. Like I don't think any like big city market would like no one of our of our stature would be able to do that in a bigger market. But with Sacramento, like the possibilities are endless.
It's so unique here, and that's what was so annoying about the relocation stuff was people were questioning whether or not this fan base was passionate.
For sure,
it's like no. The previous owners were doing what John Fisher basically did to the Athletics and actually succeeded, right? Like they were trying to neglect the teams that the fan base would abandon them. It's just like no, we're not that stupid around here. Like it's crazy looking back on it that people were even questioning that. Like now when people look at a Golden One Center crowd, they're just like, holy shit, imagine an NBA Finals environment here. Yeah. They got 4 games of it in the playoffs. Yeah. Even the play-in game last season.
That was crazy.
Ridiculous environment. Like people were questioning, Warriors media were questioning if the fans could recreate the environment that the fan base had during the playoff series for the play-in game, and it's like, they went above and beyond. Actually, like
wasn't Draymond like pushing for the fan base, the Warriors fan base, to
infiltrate
the Golden
probably, and they could.
It will never happen.
It's crazy. They couldn't even do that. Yeah,
man, crazy.
I mean, this team is so special. I mean, even with the good, the bad, the coaching changes, the dysfunction, the player trades, the dysfunction. I mean, this team will forever be so important to us. And that, I mean, the fact that we could just sit here and talk for hours and hours about this team is incredible. I mean, before we close this podcast, do you have anything you would like to say about the current state of this team and any predictions you want to make about what you think will happen? Playoff berth, full-on rebuild, trade Sabonis, trade DeMar, trade Malik. What do you think is going to happen with this team in the short-term future?
Oh, man. Well, they're not tanking. They're not bottoming them out. I tell you that.
Do that now.
Just as a reminder to everybody, just remind yourself who the owner of the team is. He's not rebuilding. He's retooling. That's the thing. Is like that was the thing that I was reminding a lot of people about this past week. Is people were like, and you guys. We were talking about it before we went live, before we hit the record button. You guys were just like, why do people think that, like, the season's over? Like, why do people, like...
Yeah, we're tied for ninth.
500.
We're tied for ninth. Phoenix lost today.
6th seed is...
6th seed is
but bringing
3
in a
games out.
2-time All-Star.
Yeah. And it's like, it's obviously...
3 games out.
Obviously, it's the perfect opportunity for a guy like me to troll. Like if we lose, I tell everybody the season's over. If we win, I tell people, you guys thought the season was over. You guys are idiots. Like that's like the whole thing I do, which is why a lot of people want to kill me on Twitter.
The thank you Kings fans.
Yeah, thank you Kings fans.
I think you posted that game 1 when we lost.
Yeah. Like last season, after the Kings lost the season opener against they lost the home opener against the Warriors. I posted a tankathon thing, and Frankie, my guy Frankie, man, shout out to Frankie Cardicelli, also a recent new dad as well. So shout out to him and his family.
Yeah, shout out to him.
We'd love that. We'd love to have him on too.
Frankie, I remember Frankie literally just replied to it, and he just said, "Drew." Like people were getting so upset about me posting that like 5 games in the season. I was just like, well, I mean, if you're gonna get upset, just keep on doing it. But
it feels you. It feels you.
But man, short term, retool is definitely the word that I would use to describe what they're going through right now.
Yeah, RT and I called in the last pod we called the Kings the Sacramento toolbox.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Toolboxes.
We just
I like
keep
that.
we just keep retooling. That's what we've been doing. For
Yeah,
the past 2
retooling and
decades.
putting a Band-Aid on everything.
Yeah,
it's just
pretty
like-
damn much.
Yeah, you're like no proper rebuilds. It's just slap a Band-Aid on it, and see how see what happens.
Yeah, it's like a big water leak that you're trying to do, and you're just trying to like fix. You're trying to retool one, and then you realize like,
Yeah.
oh snap, there's like a bigger leak that's happening,
Yep.
Yeah.
and we don't have the proper tools to do that quite yet.
But there's
Exactly.
people that have like broken windows in their car and they put like a plastic bag over it.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah, like
Zach
that's-
Levine is that plastic bag.
those are all great analogies. That's what they're trying to do, and that's what they've been doing for the past
It's been for the past 10 years.
during the entirety of Vivek's tenure as
But
the
if
owner.
that car with the taped window gets you a 7-seed playoff berth,
gosh.
8-seed playoff berth, it's a successful season.
Yeah,
that's
if
what
we
it is
win a
for the
playoff
Kings.
series, just one playoff series, everything's forgotten about.
yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
I think.
yeah. I mean, hey, that's
Hey, matchups
That's-
are important. If
and-
we
and
get the
ma-
right
and
matchup.
Oh
Definitely.
man,
And-
feed me Houston, feed me Memphis. That's all
Matchups
that matters.
so
and you look at OKC, you look at Houston, right? Like they're kind of, I guess, in a way, a class of their own at the top of the Western Conference, but the rest of it's pretty wide open. So, like, even the Lakers, who have already swept the Kings, I still think in a playoff series
Gosh.
it's completely different. Like you can somehow, although I don't know, Luka-
Especially with Luca now, that's not like
That
sat in
changes
with me.
everything, yeah.
That hasn't sat in with me yet. I haven't.
yeah, the fact that we haven't even touched that once this podcast shows me that we're still processing it until,
yeah.
until we're
Still
able to
sensitive.
It's not
talk
real
about it.
until
Yeah,
I see him
it's-
on the
until
court.
Exactly,
until
yeah.
it's on the court.
Yeah, but yeah, you have DeMontis Sabonis, you have DeMar DeRozan, you just brought in Zach Levine, you have. Again, Monk's on a great contract. Keon's on a great contract. You still have him under team control for a season beyond this one. So you have Keegan Murray, right? Like Keegan Murray,
Extension eligible.
eligible,
offseason.
and absolutely love the guy, but it may be.
Uh-oh.
I'm not
wow.
rooting. I'm not rooting for him to play poorly, but like it may
For the money?
It may be a blessing that his production's been kind of off these
To get
last
him for a better value.
couple seasons
Better
because he's
value.
going to sign a contract that's not the max, and then I hate even saying this guy's name out loud because I wanted him so badly, and Monty said no, give me Davion Mitchell, which I love Davion too, but the team had needs.
yeah.
Sengun.
No, Trey Murphy.
Yeah,
Oh.
Trey Murphy is no longer. He got pigeonholed as a 3-and-D guy way too early. He just dropped another 40 points tonight. Like he's a star.
King's
so,
killer.
And
That's why we
King's
couldn't beat the
killer.
Pelicans because of him.
When they play in a couple weeks here, just box and one Trey Murphy. Don't even look anybody else. Like literally, that's your only.
Hey,
like,
Coach
that's your
Drew.
only
Shout
hope.
out Coach Drew. Shout out Coach Drew.
Hey.
That's the key.
I'll talk to Luke Laux after this. I'll let him know.
Box of one. Easy.
Last week he replied to one of my tweets and he was just he called me coach, so I'm on the staff as far as I'm concerned.
Hey, there you go.
The Drew film room.
But
True film room.
but yeah, they're gonna retool. They're still gonna try to, obviously they're still gonna try to win ball games. I do think that there is value in trying to hang on to that Atlanta pick. However, that's top 12 protected. So even if they do make the play-in, depending, obviously standings matter and stuff like that, but if they make the play-in, you're guaranteed to basically you're giving that pick up because it's gonna be probably outside. You're probably gonna be 13th or 14th. So that's a bummer because it's a deep draft, but they're not worried about any of that right now. Like this front office, this team as currently constructed, they have to make a run. They have to get to the playoffs. And what that means on the larger scale, what does that mean for Doug, right? What does it mean for the front office? We'll see, because we'll see if they're even going to be around in their current positions when the summer comes around. But it's not. The goal is still obviously to win ball games. If they wanted to really punt on this season, they wouldn't have brought in a guy like Levine. I will question if they're trying to punt on the season if they don't make other moves between now and Thursday, because this roster is
Not it.
is not it. Even
Too many holes.
Even if they beat the Timberwolves, but they got to figure that out. And depending on what they do, before Thursday, we'll get a pretty clear idea of what they're trying to do, short and long term maybe. But yeah, they're not going to give up on winning games, man. We're trying to win ball games.
I agree.
I don't know if you guys, I don't know.
Yeah,
if you
I
guys
totally
that's,
agree.
that's what I
I feel
still
like
a
there's.
move away.
I think
We have the talent right
we
now,
have
we're still a move away.
That was
Or
what
two.
I'm saying too. I think move or two really helps fix a lot of the holes that we have, and if we fix those and just either through trades or, like we mentioned earlier, the buyout market, those moves can really help us get to where we need to be.
Yeah.
We got to keep adding tape to the window. I'm telling you.
Yeah, take to the window.
John
That's-
Collins and a solid vet point guard. I think is what this team needs.
Yep.
For the right price.
You just traded one of those away. You just traded a vet point guard away. That's
Yeah,
what kills
I
me.
know.
Like, I feel bad for J-Mac too, because they got to move now with the new baby and everything. But
Love J-Mac, dude.
love him.
He was
but
frugal too. He was at Arco. Yeah, out of all gas stations, man was at Arco on
And
J
he wasn't
Street.
even getting
It's like the
premium.
most hood gas station
Oh,
ever.
He wasn't even getting premium.
Dude, I know.
yeah, he's
crazy.
No Chevron, man.
I feel for the guy, but yeah, he's gonna he's in a good situation over there. So it's,
Oh my god.
Happy for him.
I bet he's
Where's
gonna
his
do
tribute
great.
video? We need the J-Mac tribute video.
yeah. When they come
Fox didn't
because
get one. Fox did not get
they're
one.
coming
Yeah.
because
Levine got one. Levine got one.
they're coming back in March.
Yeah,
Oh,
Fox,
maybe
Fox
they're
is
gonna
gonna
get
get
one.
one.
He'll-
No, I'm
gonna
saying
get
just
one.
online. They didn't give him one online
Oh,
yet.
okay.
Oh,
Because
online, yeah.
Zach Levine got like 3 videos posted of him.
Well, you know the King's social team drags their feet on
Well,
some stuff.
okay.
And no, we love the social
Yeah,
team.
I
I
know,
got a
but
lot of
they
friends
definitely
in
take
that.
their
We
time.
love them, and I will say this about the social team, man. They are overworked and underpaid. I can
They
tell
are.
you that.
Yep.
They are.
Because I've gotten a chance to get to know them, obviously, and like have contact with them, get to know them as people. They're great people.
I love them all.
They're so
great.
good at their jobs, but man, there are times where I see them like on the concourse or whatever, and I say what's up, or after games, and they're just like, hey, what's up, and they have to go home to do more work. So it's like,
They work.
Hey, those guys,
posting
their
at
money.
home. They're posting at
yeah,
home.
it's crazy, man.
Vivek,
They work
pay them more, Vivek.
Oh
Yeah.
god.
Pay them money.
Yeah.
And you got to pay the popcorn people more too, because
Yeah.
RT. I mean,
Hey,
he goes up.
I'm trying to go. I'm trying to go. I gotta get back. I gotta get it back.
He's got an
Hey.
unlimited popcorn
I
card.
do. I
know,
do.
you're the
I
only
got-
one.
on
You're
it.
the only one in the arena
It's
to have that.
my wallet is actually like a Costco. It's like those Costco cards that you
That's-
just flash and then
Yeah,
just
you
basically
flash the popcorn card.
Yeah.
back.
That's
and then
crazy.
It's the PC, the popcorn card.
PC.
Yeah, RTPC.
Well, Drew, the local guy, we're gonna have you on periodically throughout the season if you're okay with that.
Hey, of course,
I know I
man.
haven't even
Yes.
asked you yet, but I just like.
Yeah, again,
I truly value your insight and the X's and O's and how you see the game.
On weekends where my sons are visiting their moms and the visitation thing, and if I really don't have I really don't have anything else going on. So if I have a chance, I'm definitely willing to stop.
No,
by.
we'd love to have you
conversation.
on for a
If-
recurring guest.
if you can
whenever
find it-
good,
yeah.
whenever
If we go
there's
on a
things-
winning streak after this, then
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's a given that he needs
No,
to.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Needs to be on.
Just gotta find somebody to cover your shifts at Arby's and then you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the difficult thing is we're a little short staffed right now.
Yeah. Sheesh.
We let go of a couple good seasonal people too, which I feel bad about. But because I was hoping they would get elevated to full time. But my GM, I don't know what his deal is.
His GM.
He's-
Is Wes Wilcox GM?
Wes,
in the
Wes.
Arby's?
my,
what I was about to say.
My GM is not. He's not too far off from Wes Wilcox. Yeah, from what he's
I imagine he looks just like him.
there's a chance, man. He's just a white dude named Kevin. So
Exactly.
Just needs an opportunity.
exactly.
Sure does.
Yep.
Well, we just want to thank you again, but we're opening the door for many, many, many more podcasts in the future. We'd love to have you as a continuous inside guest.
Appreciate you guys, man. Seriously, this means the world that I was invited on. So yeah, would happy. It'd be an honor and a privilege to come back and do this again. For sure.
But if you're living under a rock and you've never opened King's Twitter and just seen this guy pop up, give this man a follow. Support this man.
Yep.
He brings so much laughter, so much fun to this city and this team. I mean,
yeah.
he's part of. Like when you think
I'm
of the
so
Kings,
short.
you can't not think of what
Yeah.
the local guy is.
Local guy.
Yeah, his tweets have talked me off the bridge multiple times.
That's good to know that I've saved lives instead of the opposite. It's crazy, man. Like, if you don't laugh at the actual tweet itself, which again, I'm not even trying to be funny. If you find it funny, awesome. But if you don't laugh at the actual tweets that I put out, just scroll the replies. They'll make you laugh too, because there are a lot of people who would be okay if I disappeared forever. I'll just say
There's
that.
been so many times where
Never
me and
want
RT
that.
are just sending each other local guy posts. We do it almost once
Every
a day.
single day.
There's
Like,
always
almost every
something
single
that you'll
day.
post. I'm like, oh, RT's got to see this.
Yeah, and
guys
then I do the same thing where it's like, all right, Christo, you just gotta see this.
You guys-
This-
Yeah,
are
we
funny.
local guy, we love you.
Just
Thank
tapped
you
in.
You guys
again
are
so
funny.
much.
You guys
We're
are
gonna
hilarious. You guys are the best.
you're
Thank
gonna
you.
be on here multiple
Yeah.
times in the future.
Sounds good to me.
Hopefully during playoff season.
Oh,
as well.
I know that would be fun.
Fingers crossed.
Get like if we have a playoff viewing party, we're gonna try and have multiple guests on. That would be like a little round table. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, we got to do it. We
That'd
got to
be a
do
good
it.
time. Yeah.
But thank you again for watching. Thank you, the local guy, Drew, for being here. Subscribe. We love you.
Love you.
Smash the like button.
And
Love
follow
you.
us on Instagram. We're so close to 1,000. So
getting
close.
there. We're getting there.
So close.
John Collins. See you soon.
See you soon.
Talk soon.